Hi, I'm going to go over the final essay topics here. I'll start by saying something a little bit general about the directions here. So this is something that you can, play over a few times, maybe locate the particular essay topic that you're thinking of, and it might be helpful for you deciding which topic to think of. So put this out there as a resource for you as we get close to finals. Okay, it says here final essay 100 points. Really, that's the whole final. That's the essay plus the 10 terms to define. As it says on the thing here, 70 points is for the essay itself, then 30 points total for the 10 terms, 3 points each. So I'll say quickly, um, define the 10 philosophical lexicon terms. So that really should just be a quick, kind of hit the nail on the head definition that really gets across the essential content of that concept. That can often be difficult to do because the concepts themselves are difficult, but also, I guess in part because of that, it's hard sometimes to put a big, complicated concept in one sentence. So I would say here one or two sentences, maybe three at the most. But one thing that this exercise is trying to get us to do or improve on or um, work on is actually just that being able to construct very dense sentences, for example, when you're giving precise definitions. So it's a good thing to be able to make them nice and concise, but you want to be able to get in all the relevant information as well. So that's kind of a balancing act. You'll have to make that call. How much is enough? How much is too much? How much is too little? So the guideline that I can give you there is that really I'm just kind of looking to kind of essentially check off that you hit the nail on the head. You got really just what the essence of this is about. No intro or conclusion. You don't have to set it in context unless you're going to use that to help define the concept. So really just get right to the definition, and you should be asking yourself then, like, well, what really is enough but not too much to just really get the core of this concept. All right, so for the most part, I'm pretty generally amenable to giving full credit for a good, clear, here's the definition kind of answer. So you can either get those from the relevant readings, you can get those from class, lecture, you can, as a default, always look up the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. That should have most of these things there, and as a default, what they say is usually pretty trustworthy and reliable. So should be a good source. Okay, so here for a little bit on the essay, just kind of general things. None of this is really too essential. Really, these I underline are guidelines for what it would take, as per my estimate, to complete one of those essay topics in what could be a kind of philosophically adequate way. My estimate is that it would take about this, about 1,000 to 1,500 words. That's like 4 to 6 typed double-spaced pages with standard margins and standard font. Important references can be either APA or MLA. It really doesn't matter. It's not something that I look for. More important here is that you must have a minimum of 3 direct quotations from our readings that are in our textbook. So make sure that I can see you directly connecting your essay to specific readings in our class by your use of these quotes in the relevant quotes in your essay. So it says here you are encouraged but not required to research outside sources. I maybe kind of emphasize definitely not required. I mean, really the point of this essay is to see you being able to adequately explain and conduct your own logical, philosophical analysis of what you've explained. And that should be really just connected to our readings. And really, that's definitely enough. And really, what's most important is that I can see you understanding our readings and then you analyzing logically those readings. So there's no necessity ever to bring in any outside resources. I will say this, of course they can help understand some complicated reading, for certainly I could see with Kant or something. Um, Also, you always want to be getting into a dialectic of objections and responses whenever you're giving a philosophical analysis of anything. What are the objections and how can these objections be responded to of some kind of primary argument that we're talking about? So quite often it can be useful to get objections to whatever view you're explaining by seeing what's out there. And that's fine. I think it's important and necessary that you credit any and of all objections and content that you're directly getting from any outside sources, of course. And if you want to cite a URL, you can do that in your references. That's fine. What's important is that you do it. And if you bring in anyone else's views, you should always give your own discussion of those views. They shouldn't just sit there, right? So most important is that you are providing the logical analysis of the main arguments, and that these are arguments you're explaining with direct quotations from whatever the relevant readings are for your selected question. Okay, all of that's like probably pretty obvious-ish kind of stuff, but it's important to emphasize different faculty do things different ways. I'm definitely not looking for structure and format kind of stuff in kind of macro, and I guess what I would think of as kind of superficial ways are just definitely not the gist of this kind of essay. Really very much content driven, but that's really based on content in terms of accurately getting the theories from the reading. Really, that's the most important thing. Within that, that content is that you're actually doing logical, critical analysis of that very reading. All right, so I'll move on now to the topics themselves.